back by popular demand. This is the Turnbucklepad Podcast on YouTube.com. Respect wrestling or get out. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I want to welcome you back to the Turnbucklepad Podcast. I am your host, Mike Stover, and today I bring back an old friend. He's an old friend because he was one of the pillars in the very beginning of the Turnbucklepad when it started. Even before it was called the Turnbucklepad, he was a big supporter and a big help. I want you to welcome my guest today, the man that can fly. He is none other than Kato.
What's up, brother? It's good to be back. Good to have you. Good to have you speaking to me again. It's been a long time, so...
Yeah, we just lost contact.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff, getting my life back together, organizing myself, and other than that, everything's been really good. Good. How's things going for you? I know you were trying out for a boxing career after you left wrestling for a bit. Now I see you're back in wrestling. How'd that go? What happened? Well, I did 5.5 years in pro boxing. I had 6 pro fights in my illustrious career. Went okay. I made money. It was just the wrong time for me. I was in a bad place in my life, so I had to get back to my roots. I had to come back to the wrestling world and do what I absolutely do best.
Did you find something in the wrestling world that kind of helped you find that inner strength and that inner confidence to help you through that dark time you were in?
Yeah. In fact, there's a lot of guys that we work with that I never knew who were recovering addicts. And in fact, through my time of recovery, I found many people in the wrestling business to enlighten me and tell me everything's going to be okay and keep your head up and keep moving forward and good things will come. And I actually, through my time of recovery, learned a lot, learned how to be a better person, learned how to talk better, learned how to control myself, control my anger, my thoughts, my feelings, and through that time it became world champion, so it worked out for the best.
Well, hard work does pay off if you put enough heart into it, right?
Oh yeah, put up my heart and soul. I mean, I've been at it for years and I'm not going to stop now.
Yeah, no, and you're not supposed to either. That's the whole point of moving forward and bettering yourself, is taking those little trial by errors and those experiences and taking the good out of it to better yourself. And when you better yourself, you better whatever it is you put yourself in. So that being said, let me ask you a couple questions here. I met you back in 2010 or 2009, I should say, and you were you just starting out in wrestling, or were you still somewhat new? Or at that time, where were you?
Well, my career started out after high school. I graduated in 2003. Basically started training after that. My very first professional career was, my professional match was 2004, I would say, here in Wisconsin. And at that time, I was green. Hell, I was still green when I pretty much met you. I was still learning. Still am learning. You never stop learning in this business. But around 2009 was kind of an up and down couple of years. I was still battling with my addiction, but I was maintaining it at the time. But when I was coming out to Chicago, I was performing at my absolute best at that time in 2009, and I was giving it my all. Fortunately, some of the guys out there were in this business. You call them favoritism. At that time it was more favoritism back then, but I can understand. But at the same time, I still performed and did what I absolutely did best. So.
And that's all that matters. You were actually a crowd favorite too. A lot of the crowd always got behind you when you came out. You did a great job at selling and working them over.
I think that was one of my strongest points. I've learned throughout many years doing this now that the crowd is the absolute important thing. whether you win them over as a baby or a heel, it personally does not matter in my eyes, as long as you got the crowd. And the fans out there are pretty rowdy.
Yeah, they
I
are.
mean, if they hate you, they hate you. If they love you, they love you. And I've always had a fabulous time in Chicago. It was going out there was pretty much somewhat of the highlight of my career. I have lots of great matches, lots of great times out there. In fact, working out there with the Luchas, it's been a blast learning a whole new style of professional wrestling, and it worked. I mean, it benefited me, and I'm absolutely proud of myself that I did that.
Are there because I know Chicago is usually you get negative and positive responses when it comes to wrestling with this in particular state and city. Are there companies here you like to work for and companies you don't like to work for?
I had my few share moments with some companies. I would say this: there's not many companies actually that I would not work for. One in particular that I don't think would fit anymore, just because of some negative thoughts and some negative feedback, was JPW. I started with these guys, and I busted my ass with these guys, and they know it. I put my heart and soul every match I do, and I just felt like they weren't really shining. They weren't really trying to do something, and it seemed like every time I was supposed to go out there for a show, it just seemed like it wasn't going anywhere, and then I never got the callbacks, and well, that was kind of one of the disappointments. The communication itself with a lot of companies is hard. You got to go through this person, that person, that person. Sometimes it gets a little difficult, but I still keep my head up and I still keep driving forward. So
Yeah.
one of the companies, one company in particular that I would absolutely love to work for, and I heard nothing but great things about it, and I'm pretty sure you did. Powell Wrestling.
Yes.
I've been talking to a few workers, Rough Crossing in particular, who is a really great worker. I like the character. At first, I didn't really, kind of pay attention, but his character is hot. I like it. I like everything about him. He's got great style. He's great in the ring, and we talked a lot about Powell and put them over really good. So.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about them too. Where do you think wrestling needs to improve as far as the forward motion and the betterment of the business goes?
Well, I honestly, personally, would say, just give people a tryout. Just have more people from around the way. And make sure you take care of them. That's always the one thing that I never really understood. You get recommended to go work for a company, and then they kind of dog you. Especially if you're going 2 states away or something, and you're really expecting to get at least, your trans and at least, to cover your basics. And sometimes I think companies overlook that, and they don't pay attention to how far these wrestlers got to travel. I think that's a little bit of a downfall. Other than that, I think it's just absolutely great. Even work on a show and just showcase your talent. I mean, sometimes you got to give a little to get a little.
Yeah, and I think if wrestling history has proved anything to us, that if you read a lot of these guys' biographies, a lot of these guys had to go through a lot of hardships just to get where they're at. I mean, if you look at Mick Foley, he lived out of his car for a little while. And he was traveling up and down the road 24 hours every day. And the guy he wanted it that bad, so he was willing to sacrifice. Do you think wrestlers today don't understand the term of what it means to sacrifice to reach your goal?
I do and I don't. I think some of the newer rookies that have came up nowadays got it easier than, what I went through or what many of people went through 20 years ago. 10, 11 years ago, I had to earn and fight and claw and bleed, cry, just to get where I had to get to. There was many times, I struggled with the travel. I didn't have a car for a while here and there, so I always had to either take the bus, train, but I got there. And the thing about it is a lot of rookies think that they don't need to do all this to get there. They think that it's owed to them. And it's, honestly, you're never going to stop paying your dues until you get to earn a title, to earn a championship. It took me 10 years. I won titles along my career, but nothing meant more to me than to get a heavyweight title. And I earned that. I earned every ounce of that title. And it took me to fight, claw, cry, bleed, and push my way to get where I had to get to. And a lot of these rookies just think it's owed to them.
Yeah. Where do you think that comes from? Do you think that comes from the business being exposed, or do you think it comes from the individuals that come in?
I would say the individuals, maybe even sometimes the trainers, but at the same time, I also think it's favoritism, because when I grew up and started training, I had it. I can't say I had it that hard, but I did have it hard. I paid my dues. I've gotten beat up from time to time, and many of the times that I did get legitimately beat up was sometimes by mistake or people who I was associated with. So it was like that never stopped me from trying to achieve my dream, to achieve my goal. And I think these rookies, the greenhorns nowadays, I think kind of fly by without learning that lesson, and it's hard because, a guy in the business like me, 11 years, of working my ass off, a 2-year guy who pretty much just floated by and still doesn't know the whole aspect of professional wrestling.
Yeah, some people get it, some people don't, and some people have to learn. And then there's some people who it just never clicks. Where would you put yourself in that category?
Honestly, my thing is, it took me a while to actually click, but I'll never stop progressing and learning the business, because there's always a new move, there's always a new way to get in and out of stuff, and I think honestly, I'll consider myself still learning. I'm not gonna sit there and put myself back, but I've progressed so much that there's a lot of things that I would love to teach the new guys something. I'm down here in Wisconsin training a couple cats right now, so it's an honor to work with people and to teach them, but at the same time, they got to understand the whole meaning behind the business. They got to understand it's going to take time to learn, to progress, and to showcase your abilities.
Yeah, you think these new guys that come in, they think only certain parts is all that matters?
Yeah. I mean, like I was always taught, and I did a show out in Chicago years ago, and Al Snow was at the show. There was a couple things that were missed, and personally, he loved the match. He thought it was phenomenal. There was a couple botches, but as long as nobody else understood and knew, because now you got the smarties.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, years ago it used to be tape traders and just all internet jockeys. Now you got all these news feeds and the internet, blowing up about this the next day, and personally, it's what it is, but
yeah. I mean, you don't find it ever getting to the point where it's getting boring, do you?
No, but I do find it very politicky. Wrestling is very politics. Trying to move forward with your life and earn money for your family and to survive, you got to know who to kiss ass to, and sometimes it gets boring in that aspect. You know,
Do you think there's a lot more ass kissing going on as opposed to working hard and proving yourself?
yeah, that part I believe so. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, WWE is known for it. You know, there's a lot of companies that do it. You know, and it's not just, and I know sometimes they don't do it on purpose, but they don't realize that they're doing it. That may be the downfall of some companies. You know, because a lot of wrestlers see that and might not like it. You know, I'm one for that. I don't like the whole ass kissing aspect. Because believe you me, I'll bust my ass for you as long as you take care of me.
Right.
I have no problem working my hardest and showcasing my talent and making sure that you guys know that I can do absolutely my 110% in and out of the ring. But a lot of the guys tend to forget that.
Yeah, they do. Well, we have a question that we ask all our guests, Ken, and I think you would remember this because I believe you were there for the first time I did it. What advice would you give to somebody that's wanting into the business or somebody that's new in the business?
My advice would be to, one, never let people tell you you can't do it, because you can. You have the ability to do whatever you want to do. No matter how hard it is, how painful it is, grit your teeth, you know, bite the bullet and just do whatever you have to do to show that you really want this. Another thing is shut up when people are talking to you. That'd be another big advice. Shut up when a veteran is telling you something that either you're doing good or you're doing bad. Of course, you want to hear the good, but you also want to know what you can improve on, so you do want to hear the bad. You know, that'd be the best advice, is just to shut up and listen. You know, back in the day, I didn't listen. And believe you me, it took that long to get something, but I didn't listen, and I should have. I kind of regret not listening back in the day, but look at me now. I moved on. I became a heavyweight champion. I am Kato.
Yeah.
I am the controversial one in the Midwest. So it's just a proven fact that guy who was maybe the underdog can still be on top.
Yeah, and sometimes some of the best wrestling, sometimes the best stories come from the underdogs because they're the ones that want it the most.
That is true.
And one more thing on a side note before we wrap up with you, Ken. One of my favorite storylines, one of my favorite angles you did was with the Strangler, Diego Corleone, back in 2009, 2010. How was that working with him?
The Strangler was a weird character. I'll tell you like that. He is funny, but also serious. I have learned a lot working with him. I would say my ground game for holds became a lot better, a lot stronger. I learned how to do more chain wrestling, and chain wrestling in most companies are pretty big, you know, especially in New Japan. I mean, a lot of that stuff is very, very hot. And I would say Diego, I mean, he's got this weird character to him. You know, I know there's a lot of rumors going around about him with him stinking. And he knows I love the guy. But sometimes he did stink, and it kind of threw me off, and I'm not going to lie. Diego, if you ever listen to this, I still love you, dude, so don't think I'm shitting on you. But, yeah, he was a great character. His whole... We had a blast. I mean, every time I worked him, I must have worked him 4 or 5 times. I mean, I even worked him in Baraboo, Indiana, and that was actually a blast out there. It was cold as hell, but it was fun.
But it's always good to hear fun stories about who you get to work with and what you learn from them. This business is comprised of it, you know, learning from one another.
Here's a quick little road trip about that. We were driving the Baraboo, Indiana, and I had my little sister with me in the car, my ex-girlfriend at the time, and we were driving out there, and I was getting pissed because we had to keep paying for tolls, and I didn't realize how expensive a lot of these tolls are. And he was just making fun of my ex and my sister, and my sister was getting very annoyed, and she was like, "I hate you." He was like, "Don't talk to me the whole ride." He was like, "Come on, you don't love me no more." And it got funny, you know. We just had a great time on our road trip, but you know, that's the things that make things fun. You know, when you have a road trip and you can have fun, shoot the shit, just be normal. You know, I would say that right there is the absolute best time when you can ride with guys, you can be yourself, shoot the shit, and have a good time on a road trip without even any care in the world. When you're just hanging with the fellas and just cruising, that was the good times.
Yeah, and I'm sure you got many more, but unfortunately, we're out of time for this segment. But Kato, it was really great having you back on the show, man. After 5 years, you were always a big support. We were always appreciative and grateful for everything you did. And we're also huge supporters of your work, so we want to wish you nothing but the best and good luck being heavyweight champion.
I appreciate that, man, and thank you for having me on the show.
Not a problem. Fans, I'm your host, Mike Stover. This was my guest, Mr. Kato. And Kato, how can fans find you?
Find me on Facebook under Andrew Kato. My Instagram is akato3. My Twitter, I believe, is Andrew K. Kato, Kato. You can find my matches on YouTube under my old name, Ken, Kato, or Andrew Kato.
Cool. All right, fans, you know how to find a man that can fly. In the meantime, I'm your host, Mike Stover, and we're out.